it's me again. I'd just like to take this time now to introduce our mayor, Brian Arrigo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I do want to recognize a couple of our local elected officials who are here this evening. We have with us City Councilor at Large Stephen Morabito. Stephen. And we also have Ward 2 City Councilor Ira Novoselsky. Thank you for being here. You know, so often the problems that are associated with substance use are in the forefront of our minds, and we can overlook some of the successes that come from all of the efforts that we make to confront this epidemic. And today we celebrate those who are living proof that recovery is possible, that substance use can be conquered. And we acknowledge the valuable contributions to our community by those who have survived and overcome the scourge of this epidemic. We, all of us here today, are committed to continuing the battle against substance use so that in the future we can celebrate so many more triumphs. I want to commend Julia Newhall and her staff with the city's Substance Use Disorder Initiative Office, who devote so much of their talent, their time, and their energy to assisting those that are in need. Revere's site office is truly a place where individuals are treated with dignity and they're guided toward achieving their human potential. In Revere, and I'm proud to say this, we do not tolerate the stigma that for too long has impeded those who seek help in dealing with substance use. We encourage all of our residents to gain an understanding of substance use disorder, and we have events like this that allow for these conversations. When we join together, we can all play an active role in the ongoing effort to combat this epidemic. And to those who continue to fight the fight, those who can be an example to others, on behalf of the City of Revere, we want to offer our applause, we want to offer our continuing support, and we want to assure all of you that you do not stand alone. Before I end, I have the pleasure and opportunity to introduce the next speaker. And it's somebody that I got an opportunity to get to know very well over the last couple of years. And he's somebody who has truly found his life's passion in what he's doing. And he's somebody that I look up to and I know has overcome incredible struggles to do amazing things for the City of Revere and for so many other people outside of the City of Revere. It is my honor to introduce Marcs Story, the Director of Veteran Services for the City of Revere.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Arrigo, city councilors, residents, fellow friends in recovery. My name is Marcs Story, and I am grateful for long-term recovery. Before I get into my story and talk about myself, I'd like to thank Julia and the SUD office for giving me the opportunity to share a message of strength, inspiration, and hope. Addiction was not a goal of mine. It's not something I was looking for, but now looking back on a younger self, I realized I was an addict before I ever put a substance into my body. Looking back to me in high school, I was popular, I was an all-star in many sports. I had a ton of friends, but when I walked into a room full of people, I felt alone. I felt out of place. There was nothing that ever made that connection. You would have thought everything in life was great, and at the time it wasn't. I partied like everyone else in high school, your normal drinking, smoking, on the weekends and whatnot, until someone gave me a Klonopin, and that was the first time I actually had that feeling of relief that I actually fit in. I actually could feel comfortable around people, feel comfortable around others, but still I was able to hold it together. My dis-ease had not yet taken toll, but it was manifesting. And as I look back now, I can see it manifesting then. I want to fast forward to 2000, July of 2000. I was still able to hold it together. I wasn't using like crazy. I was in college. I had a football scholarship. I was doing great. I was in downtown Boston. It was July. I was leaving for school in about 2 weeks, and a few friends were getting together to go out to celebrate. I was leaving Faneuil Hall at about 2 a.m., and I walked straight into a gang initiation. I was a victim of a violent crime. I was shot twice. I spent 10 days in Mass General Hospital. And again, during that time in the hospital, I had that feeling again while I was on that pain medication, that I felt that feeling of comfortableness. I was okay with myself. And really, that's not okay. I then struggled for a while, and instead of taking the year off and taking advice I was given by many people to take that year off and have a medical red shirt, again, the obsession and compulsion told me I needed it now. I needed to play now. I had to get back on the field now. So our brain tells us what to do, and our thinking is always the best thinking. I use steroids. I used steroids to get back on the field sooner, and by the end of that season, 4 games before our championship run, I popped hot for a urine analysis. I was suspended my sophomore year, the whole next year, and it put me in a downward spiral. I then left for the Army around 2006, where I finally thought my past was gone, it was behind me, my problems were solved. Again, a change that wasn't the answer. And I did well with it for a while. In 2009, I was injured in Afghanistan, both mentally and physically. I came back from Afghanistan in 2010. I was heavily prescribed pain medication at that point and under-provided for. I was treated by the DOD in a pain clinic in Kentucky, and they had me on any painkiller you can imagine, and the amounts were obscene. In 2012, I came back to Boston. I walked into the VA at that point, and they looked at my med list and they said, "I'm sorry, but we don't provide like that here." And I said, okay, but this is my medication. I need this medicine. Not only did it heal the pain, it actually healed the pain, all of it. The pain inside, the pain outside, physical pain, mental pain, it healed it all. So I felt as though I needed it. They weren't going to give it to me. I was going to seek it on my own, find it, because I knew the best answer again. That put me in a long, dark period of dark times. It took me the loss of my children. It took me my wife leaving. It took me the loss of everything. It took me wanting to lose my own life and take my own life. That's what my thoughts were on a daily basis. We may not use the same, we may not have the same road, we may not come from the same places, but the pain inside, the feelings we have, the obsession, the compulsion, it's all the same. So I suffered, and it took me 2 years to wrap my head around that I didn't need to suffer no more, that there was help out there. So there was a night in January of 2013. I I knew if I didn't make a call for help, I probably wasn't gonna make the night. So I picked up the phone, I called my brother, I asked him to pick me up and take me to the VA in Bedford, and I stayed there for the next 8 days. On the 9th day, I knew that wasn't enough, and I gotta be honest, this part of my story is where I didn't want to share today, and I didn't want to release, but you know what, if I don't, that holds the stigma over our head that we try to avoid on a daily basis. I knew it wasn't enough that 9 days. So on the 9th morning, I left the detox, I went to Causeway Street, and I got on MAT. And if you're not familiar with MAT, it's medically assisted treatment. And if you're on medically assisted treatment and you're here today, don't let anyone tell you that your path to recovery is any less than theirs. Because I'm here to tell you that it was a path of recovery that worked for me. And I'm here to tell you today, I stand before you as a director of Veteran Services. I stand before you back with my children. I stand before you back with my wife. I stand before you as a homeowner. I graduated from an associate's degree to a bachelor's degree. I lead things every day in this city to make this city a better place. And I wasn't going to come here and share this message today because of the stigma. And a lot of times, it's us in recovery that hold the stigma on ourselves and hold the stigma on each other. If you're here suffering today, know there's a better tomorrow. If you're not doing what you were doing yesterday, you're recovering. If you're not doing what you were doing last week, you're recovering. Don't let anyone tell you your path to recovery is any special way, because if you're recovering, that's all that counts. I'm here again to let you know that there's no simple path. There's no easy days. The struggle is real, but we do recover. My name is Mark. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and bless you all.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name's Julia Newhall, and I'm the director of the SUD office in the city of Revere. I just want to thank Mark for sharing his story and for his courage in coming out and really reaffirming that there are multiple pathways to recovery and that each of us has a different journey that we're on. This is a really important event today, not just to celebrate those in recovery, but to raise awareness about those who are yet to initiate recovery and those who aren't able maybe to sustain their recovery. And I don't know how many of you follow our Facebook page. Can you hear me? Yeah. I don't know how many of you follow our Facebook page, but one of my colleagues posted something the other night, a TED Talks about what we know about addiction is not true. And it referred to a study by a professor of psychology who in the 1970s debunked mainstream addiction science in creating what is called Rat City. And what he did is he conducted an experiment where he had put a bunch of rats together where they were free to roam and socialize and breed, and gave 2 bottles of water. One was laced with heroin and cocaine, the other was just regular water. What the study found was that these rats, more often than not, went for the regular water and not the drug-laced water. And when they did use the drug-laced water, it was done so infrequently, and not one of them overdosed. Prior to that, studies had been conducted for years on the opposite end of the spectrum, where one rat was placed in a cage with 2 bottles of water, one with no drugs and one with drugs. In every single case, the rat who was alone in a cage would incessantly go for the drug-induced bottle and eventually would do so until it overdosed and died. What that tells us is that it's not so much about drugs, but rather connection. Recovery is about connecting with other people. Recovery is about being there and being a part of something and feeling support around you not just for you, but for someone else. They say that you can't keep it unless you give it away. And that's true. And every day, that's what we try to do, is to help the next person, to help them in their journey, regardless of what that journey might be. We don't judge, we don't tell them, we don't advise. We help them come to the conclusion as to what they want to do for their recovery. We meet people where they're at. And I have the privilege of seeing, you know, so many people who have such remarkable stories about, you know, lives that were once in the ruins and have come out on top. And there are so many more stories, but people don't come forward because of the stigma associated with this. And just to give you an example of that, as we were planning this event, my staff and I, we were discussing possible speakers for tonight's event. And one of the things that I was promoting was getting a diverse group, people that we hadn't heard from before, people like Mark who are in leadership positions, and hearing from people that no one would suspect. And just as the words rolled off my tongue, did I come to hesitate my suggestion, because my staff looked at me and said, "Julia, why don't you speak?" And I'd like to tell you that it's because I didn't want to make this about myself. But at some unconscious level, I'm sure it's because of the stigma. Because I am a person in recovery, a person in long-term recovery, and have been in recovery for 13 years. And if somebody like me, who's the director of the SUD office, isn't willing to come up here and tell you that, how can I expect other people to do it? And so I just want to say that it is possible that people do get better, and that we're here to help you whenever you need it. I'm so glad to see all of you here tonight, and continue to spread this message of hope in recovery. We need it. Thank you. I got Lieutenant right?
Yeah. I'll be short and sweet for you, but I'll introduce myself as Lieutenant Kevin Michael Dougherty, but I too am an alcoholic and drug addict in long-term recovery. And, is it on? Are we good? So, talk close, yeah, sorry. So I too, am in long-term recovery. I have a recovery date of Christmas, December 25th of 2013, where my life too was in ruins, and I took my last drink and drug on that date, 2013, where I had to take a leave of absence. I was a firefighter at that time, and I'm very open about it because of the backing and the support that I got from my friends, family, short of everyone around me, which it wasn't very easy for me to come out and be okay with telling people that I was an alcoholic drug addict. And then I did have to go to my current chief, who's senior deputy chief at the time, and tell him I needed to take a leave of absence. The leave of absence was probably the most difficult thing I could ever possibly do for a job that I love so much, but it was very important for me to try to figure out what was going on in my life, and my life was unmanageable and spiraling out of control due to alcohol and drugs. So I'm just here today to say we do recover. I hope to come up on my 6-year anniversary on Christmas morning with my son, my loving wife, and the support of my fire department and the city. And if you do need help, and if you are struggling today, you can go to the SUDI office, you can stop by the fire department, you can stop by the veteran services. There's people in the police department who are willing to and open about their long-term recovery, who are willing to help you. And always reach out. We're always here for you. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers tonight. And, you know, let's celebrate Recovery Month and be open. My recovery date is February 2001. Thank you. And I am a person in long-term recovery. We need to change the language, how we speak about ourselves. We don't need to identify as an addict or an alcoholic. We can change the words as a person in long-term recovery. It sounds better. We are not addicts. We are people recovering from the disease of addiction. So just remember that next time you're out there and someone asks you to identify. If you start with changing the language, other people will start to do it. So thank you all for coming. Enjoy. We got some great music. We got cornhole. There's a bouncy house if you want to get in there and get crazy. So thank you everyone for coming.